The sky burned. Ribbons of crimson fire streaked across the smog-choked atmosphere, the remnant of orbital bombardment still scarring the heavens. Below, the ruins of New Carthage groaned under the weight of alien war machines. Hulking, biomechanical constructs that scuttled through the rubble like steel spiders, their plasma cannons humming with lethal charge. The last human stronghold had fallen hours ago. Now, only pockets of resistance remained, scattered and desperate. Commander Elias Voss crouched behind the shattered husk of an armored transport, his breath ragged, his pulse rifle overheating in his grip. Blood seeped from a gash across his temple, mingling with sweat and grime. Around him, the Lass's squad lay dead or dying, their bodies broken by the relentless advance of the Cthari invaders. He had known this was a suicide mission when he ordered the retreat cover. But someone had to buy time for the fleeing civilians. Someone had to make sure humanity didn't die whimpering in the dark. A shadow loomed, one of the Cthari stalkers, a towering monstrosity of chitin and alloy, rounded the wreckage, its multifaceted eyes locking onto him. Voss exhaled, steadying his shaking hands. No more ammo, no more tricks. Just him and the combat knife at his belt. "Come on, you ugly bastard," he muttered. The creature lunged. Voss moved on instinct, rolling beneath its psi-like limbs, driving the blade into a seam in its armored underbelly. Black ichor sprayed. The stalker shrieked, thrashing, but he held on, twisting the knife deeper until the thing collapsed in a twitching heap. He staggered back, gasping. One down, 1,000 more to go. A low, resonant hum filled the air. He turned. In the distance, the Cthari command spire pulsed with eerie light, its spires twisting like living metal. They were activating something. Something worse. Voss's neural implant, a relic from an old Black Ops program. Flared to life. A voice, cold and mechanical, echoed in his skull. Directive Omega confirmed. Final contingency engaged. He had no time to process the words. A plasma bolt tore through his chest. The world blurred. He collapsed, the taste of copper flooding his mouth. Above him, the Cthari warrior leveled its weapon for the kill. Then silence. Not the silence of death. The silence of something waking. Deep beneath the earth, in bunkers forgotten by time, systems whirred to life. Cryo chambers hissed open. And in the dark, something stirred. Something meant for war. Voss's vision faded, but his lips curled into a bloody grin. Let them come. The first sensation was pain, white-hot and jagged, like a blade carving through frozen flesh. Kale-7's lungs seized as oxygen flooded his starved system, his body convulsing against the restraints of the cryo chamber. His eyes snapped open, pupils dilating against the dim emergency lights flickering above. The glass lid hissed open, releasing a plume of cryogenic mist that coiled around him like spectral fingers. Muscle memory took over before conscious thought. His hand, pale, scarred, threaded with faint metallic veins, shot up and shattered the remaining restraints. He rolled out of the chamber and hit the floor in a crouch, every nerve screaming in protest. The room tilted. His vision swam with fragmented images. Fire, screams, a war that wasn't his but somehow was. A voice, smooth and synthetic, crackled from a dormant speaker. Subject KO7. Activation sequence complete. Primary directive. Engage hostiles. Secondary directive. Locate and assemble remaining units. He snarled, shaking his head to clear the fog. Who the hell are you? No answer. The speaker died with a static wheeze. KO7 straightened, his enhanced hearing picking up the distant rumble of artillery. The bunker, a tomb of steel and concrete, was buried deep, but not deep enough to mute the war above. He flexed his hands, feeling the dormant augmetics in his bones hum to life. He didn't remember his creators. He didn't remember his own name, if he'd ever had one, but he remembered killing, a glint in the shadows. His head whipped around. A weapon rack, untouched by time, stood against the far wall. He crossed the room in 3 strides and wrenched a pulse rifle free, its biometric sensors flaring green at his touch. Custom-made. The door groaned open at his approach, its mechanism sluggish with disuse. Beyond lay a corridor, lined with more cryo chambers. All dark, all empty, except one. He approached, pulse rifle raised. The chamber's occupant was female, lean, her skin etched with the same faint cybernetic tracery as his. A name flickered in his fractured memory. Seraph. Her eyes opened, gold, predatory, locking onto him with instant recognition. "Took you long enough," she rasped, her voice like ground glass. The chamber exploded outward before he could respond. Seraph lunged, her wings folded tight against her back during stasis, snapping open with sound like unsheathed blades. She landed in a crouch, one hand braced against the floor, the other already reaching for the twin pistols holstered at her thighs. "Where's Brannick?" she demanded. Kale Seven's jaw tightened. Gone. Or dead. Seraph's lips peeled back from her teeth. Bullshit. That tank doesn't die. She pushed past him, her wings brushing the ceiling. "We find the others. Then we find out who's turned Earth into a graveyard." The bunker's lower levels yielded 2 more survivors. Brannick, 7 feet of muscle and grim silence, ripped his way out of his chamber before they could trigger the release, his armored fists leaving dents in the reinforced steel. Nyx was already awake when they found her, perched atop a crumbling server stack like a wraith, her dark eyes reflecting the dim light like a cat's. "Took you long enough," she echoed Seraph's words, but there was no warmth in them, only a quiet, coil violence. Kale, Seven studied her. Something in her posture set his instincts alight. "You've been awake before." Nyx smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Long enough to know we're not the first they've tried to wake. A beat of silence. Brannick cracked his knuckles. "Then why are we still breathing?" "Because the others didn't have me." Nyx dropped from her perch, landing soundlessly. "Or you." The bunker shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere above, something heavy struck the earth. The war wasn't waiting. Seraph flexed her wings. "We moving or what?" "Kale." Seven turned toward the exit. "We move." The surface was a nightmare. The sky, choked with smoke and alien vessels, cast a sickly green pall over the ruins of what might have been a city once. The air reeked of ionized plasma and rotting flesh, and the Cathari were everywhere. They spotted the first patrol within minutes. A pack of stalkers, their carapaces glistening with oily refraction, picking through the rubble. Brannick didn't wait for orders. He charged. The fight was short, brutal. Kale, Seven, lost himself in it, his body remembering what his mind couldn't. The perfect rhythm of slaughter. Seraph took to the air, her pistol singing. Nyx vanished, reappearing in bursts of shadow to slit throats with surgical precision. Brannick simply tore them apart. When it was over, Kale, Seven stood panting over the corpses, his pulse rifle smoking. Too easy. Nyx wiped her blade on a stalker's carapace. "They're scouts. The real army's further east." Seraph landed beside them, her wings folding tight. "Then we head east." Kale, Seven opened his mouth to respond, and froze. His neural implant flared, a sudden, searing burst of data flooding his vision. Coordinates. A message, repeating on loop. "To the inheritors of the old war. If you hear this, humanity has fallen. You are the last weapon left in the dark. Awaken, fight, or die with the rest." The transmission cut out. In its wake, silence. Brannick broke it. "So, we're the cavalry." Nyx's smile was razor-thin. "No, we're the reckoning." Above them, the alien spire pulsed, its light staining the clouds blood red. Kale, Seven adjusted his grip on the rifle. "Then let's go introduce ourselves." The alien spire dominated the horizon like a jagged black thorn, its obsidian surface drinking in the dying light. Kale, Seven crouched atop a collapsed highway overpass, his enhanced optics zooming in on the Cathari sentries patrolling its base. Their movements were precise, mechanical, no wasted motion. These weren't the scavengers they'd slaughtered earlier. These were frontline troops. Seraph's wings rustled beside him as she landed soundlessly, her golden eyes reflecting the distant glow of alien energy conduits. Perimeters tighter than a cryo seal. They're expecting something. Or someone, Nyx murmured from the shadows. She materialized between them, her dark armor making no sound as she shifted position. They've double patrolled since we hit the eastern outpost. Brannick's massive frame blocked what remained of the moonlight as he joined them, his armored fists clenching. So we hit harder. Kale, 7 exhaled slowly, watching the patterns of patrols. There was a rhythm to it. A 3-minute gap between rotations at the northeast quadrant. A weakness. His neural implant pinged, calculating trajectories, probabilities. Nix takes point. Disable their comms array. Seraph, you're our eyes above. Brannick, and I go in silent until we can't. Nix tilted her head, her smile all edges. And when silence stops being an option, Kale, 7 cycled the chamber of his pulse rifle. The weapon hummed to life, its targeting HUD syncing with his optics. Then we remind them why they should have stayed in their own damn system. The infiltration began with Nix becoming smoke. One moment solid. The next a ripple of distorted air slipping between the sentries. Kale, 7 counted the seconds in his head. At exactly 93, the distant comms tower flickered and died. Move. They struck like a blade through water. Brannick crushed the first sentry's thorax before it could sound the alarm. Kale 7's rifle coughed twice, dropping a pair of drones mid-turn. Above, Sarah's pistol spat precise bursts, picking off lookouts with clinical efficiency. Then the lights flared to life. Klaxons wailed as the entire base activated, defensive turrets swiveling toward them. Kale, 7 barely had time to register the trap before the first plasma burst scorched past his face. Ambush! Seraph's warning came half a second too late. A concussive blast sent Brannick skidding backward, his armor smoking. Nix reappeared at Kale 7's side, her blade dripping black ichor. They knew we were coming. The ground trembled. From the spire's base emerged a new horror, a Kthari warlord, its carapace gleaming with freshly grafted armor, 6 articulated limbs ending in crackling energy whips. It moved with predatory grace, its faceted eyes locking onto Kale 7. Old weapons should remain buried. Its voice was the sound of grinding bones. Kale, 7 spat blood and raised his rifle. Funny, I was just thinking the same about invaders. The warlord attacked. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a storm of violence. Brannick grappled with 2 of the creature's limbs, his augmented muscles straining. Seraph dove through turret fire, her wings shedding feathers as plasma scored her armor. Nix flickered in and out of visibility, her strikes precise but unable to pierce the warlord's reinforced plating. Kale, 7 fought to the pain of a shattered rib, his HUD flashing damage reports. They were losing. Then, a new sound cut through the chaos. Not alien. Human. Rocket streaked from a nearby ruin, slamming into the warlord's back. The explosion sent the creature reeling. From the smoke emerged a squad of ragged survivors, their mismatched armor bearing the insignia of the fallen human defense corps. At their head stood a woman with a plasma-scarred face and eyes that burned with vengeance. About time someone else started fighting back, she shouted over the din, reloading her launcher with practiced ease. The warlord recovered faster than anything that size should. Its whips lashed out, bisecting 2 soldiers before they could react. The woman, Kale 7's implant supplied the rank from her half-destroyed uniform patch. Captain Lyrichin, roll clear, coming up firing. Fall back to the tunnels, she barked at her remaining troops before turning to Kale 7. Unless you metalheads have a better plan. Nix materialized beside them, breathing hard. We do, but you're not going to like it. Another explosion rocked the compound as Brannick went down under the warlord's assault, his armor buckling. Seraph swooped in to drag him clear, one wing hanging limp. Kale, 7 made a decision in half a heartbeat. He grabbed Chin by the shoulder, his voice raw. Get your people out. Now! Her eyes narrowed. What are you? He didn't let her finish. Tapping his neural implant, he activated the emergency protocol he'd found buried in his systems. The one labeled Last Resort. The world went white. When his vision cleared, the warlord was staggering, its armor cracked. The spire's energy field flickered. And deep in Kale's 7 skull, a new voice whispered. One that wasn't his. Directive confirmed. Final protocols engaged. Nyx was at his side instantly, her usually impassive face twisted with something like alarm. What did you just do? Kale. Seven looked at his hands. The faint cybernetic tracery beneath his skin was glowing. Whatever we were designed for, he said softly. This is it. Above them, the spire pulsed like a diseased heart, and from within its depths, something answered. The glow beneath Kale's seven skin pulsed in time with the spire's unnatural heartbeat, each throb sending jagged pain lancing through his neural pathways. He clenched his fists, watching as the luminescent tracery spread up his arms like liquid lightning. The others stared, Nyx with calculating intensity, Seraph with wings half flared in alarm, Brannock struggling to his feet with armor still sparking from the warlord's assault. Captain Chun was the first to break the silence. What the hell did you just activate? Kale. Seven opened his mouth to respond when the ground heaved. A seismic groan tore through the battlefield as the spire's base cracked open, vomiting a swarm of mechanized horrors. Smaller than the warlord, but moving with terrifying synchronicity, their carapaces gleaming with the same oily sheen as the structure they'd emerged from. Nyx's blades were in her hands before the first creature hit the dirt. Weapons hot. They're not letting us leave. The warlord recovered faster than Kale. Seven anticipated. One of its energy whips lashed out, wrapping around Brannock's ankle and yanking him off balance. The giant soldier roared as he went down, the whip's barbs digging deep. Seraph Dove, her remaining good wing beating hard as she strafed the warlord's faceted eyes with gunfire. It barely flinched. Kale Seven's HUD flickered, his implant feeding him data. He didn't understand. Frequency patterns, energy signatures, something buried so deep in his programming even his subconscious hadn't touched it until now. The glow beneath his skin flared brighter. Chin grabbed his arm. Whatever you're doing, do it faster. He didn't get the chance. The swarm hit like a living tsunami. Nyx disappeared into the fray, her blades becoming a whirlwind of severed limbs and black ichor. Brannock tore free of the whip, but not before another lash caught him across the chest, peeling armor plating away like paper. Seraph's guns clicked empty. Then, a sound like the sky tearing open. The swarm froze. The warlord's head snapped upward. From the spire's apex, a beam of sickly green light speared into the clouds, illuminating the underbelly of the Cathari mothership hovering in low orbit. Kale Seven's implant screamed a warning an instant before the beam intensified. His body moved before his mind caught up, tackling Chin into cover as the energy wave hit. The world dissolved into blinding agony. When his vision cleared, the battlefield was transformed. The spire's outer layers had sloughed away like dead skin, revealing pulsating organic machinery beneath. The surviving Cathari were changing. Their carapaces split open, revealing writhing masses of tendrils that lashed at the air as if tasting it. Nyx materialized beside him, her left arm hanging limp, her blades dark with alien blood. They're evolving. Brannock spat a mouthful of crimson. Into what? The answer came from an unexpected source. Seraph's golden eyes widened as she stared at the spire. Not evolving. Awakening. Kale. Seven followed her gaze. The spire wasn't a structure. It never had been. The truth unfolded in his mind with terrible clarity. The way the buildings clustered around it like protectors, the rhythmic pulsing that matched no mechanical system he'd ever seen. It's alive, he breathed. Chen's grip on her rifle tightened. Then how do we kill it? The ground trembled again, but this time a vibration came from beneath them, from the ruins of the old human bunkers, from the places where Earth's original defenders had been buried. Kale Seven's implant flared white-hot. The voice returned, clearer now. Protocol unlocked. Final dawn. Authorization, Omega-7. Pain became purpose. The glow beneath his skin erupted, not just from him, but from the others too. Seraph's wing markings blazing gold. Brannock's armor seemed shining crimson. Nyx's shadowy form flickering with violet energy. The warlord lunged and met Kale Seven's fist midair. The impact sent shock waves through the battlefield. Kale. Seven didn't feel the whip that sliced his side, didn't register the blood streaming down his ribs. His entire being was focused on a single point where his glowing fist met the warlord's carapace, and the hairline fracture spreading outward from the impact. Nyx struck like vengeance given form, her blades finding the crack and widening it. Seraph was airborne again, her wounded wings somehow holding as she rained precise shots into the creature's wounds. Brannick grabbed two of its limbs and pulled. With a sound like a mountain splitting, the warlord came apart. The swarm recoiled. The spires shuddered. Kale, Seven turned toward the pulsating monstrosity, his voice raw but steady. Chun, get your people clear. She didn't argue this time. As the survivors retreated, the four super soldiers advanced. The spire's surface rippled, more defenders emerging, but these were different. Bulkier, slower. Guardians, Nyx murmured. It's protecting something. Brannick cracked his neck. Let's find out what. The battle that followed was less a fight than a demolition. Whatever the spire had been trying to become, it wasn't ready. Not for them. Not like this. Kale, Seven led the charge, his every strike guided by instincts older than his memory. The others followed, their movements perfectly synchronized, as if whatever slept inside the spire had been waiting for this moment, this combination of warriors, to awaken. When they reached the core, the truth waited. Floating in a vat of translucent fluid was a humanoid shape, pale, hairless, its limbs too long and fingers too numerous. Its closed eyes twitched as they approached. Seraph's wings drooped. It's making more of them. Nyx's blade hovered at the creature's throat. Not more. Better. Kale Seven's implant pulsed in time with the thing's heartbeat. He understood now. The Cathari weren't conquerors. They were refugees, running from something worse. And whatever slept inside him, inside all of them, had been made to fight that something. Brannick's fist clenched. Do we kill it? The choice hung in the air like a suspended blade. Then the creature's eyes opened. Kale Seven's world dissolved into white noise as a connection slammed into him. Visions of dark spaces between stars, of civilizations erased like chalk from slate, of something ancient and hungry turning its gaze toward Earth. When he came back to himself, Nyx had her blade at his throat instead. Her eyes were hard. What did it show you? He met her gaze steadily. The real war. Outside, the sky darkened unnaturally, as if something vast had passed between Earth and its sun. The spire's remaining defenders collapsed, their carapaces crumbling to dust. Seraph flexed her wings. So what now? Kale, Seven looked at his hands, still glowing, but fading now. Then at the creature in the vat. It watched them with something like resignation. We prepare, he said softly. Above them, the first alien stars began to wink out.